Presenting
The Complete
Orson Welles.
Orson Welles and the Mercury Theater on the air in The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells.
This is Orson Welles, speaking from London.
As the third man.
Stand by.
We'll be on the air in 15 seconds, Mr. Wells. May I stand help?
Stand by, everybody.
Mercury Theater on the air presents Orson Welles as Count Dracula in his own version of Bram Stoker's great novel,
Who knows
Dracula.
what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The shadow knows.
Hello world, welcome to The Complete Orson Welles, brought to you by Dwayne Old Time Radio. This podcast will feature various classic radio programs ranging mostly from 1936 to 1952 that Orson either produced and directed, was featured on, or starred as a guest. If you enjoy my podcast, you can subscribe to receive notifications of new posts. Subscribing is free and only takes a moment. New episodes are posted weekly. If inclined, please leave a rating and or review on your preferred podcast service. Thank you for your support. Hope you enjoyed the genius of Mr. Wells. I misspoke earlier this month and said that we're going to air 3 parts on the last week. No. We're going to air 1 part on the last week, but this is the 3rd week. So this week we have 2 parts of Les Misérables, the 7-part series, and next week we're going to have the final episode, which is actually titled The Final Episode, or Finale. This week, the 5th episode is titled The Grave, and that aired August 20th, 1937, and then The Barricade, August 27th, 1937.
So long as these problems are not solved, so long as ignorance and poverty remain on earth, these words cannot be useless.
These are the words which preface the 5th of 7 broadcasts based on Victor Hugo's great novel, Les Misérables. WOR and the Mutual Network present Orson Welles, distinguished young author, actor, and director, in an adaptation of the book which he has created especially for radio. Each episode portrays some development in the progress of Jean Valjean, a role played by Orson Welles, who is also heard as he reads the narrative passages. Les Misérables, Part 5, the episode which is called The Grave.
Hold! Who goes there?
Police Lieutenant on special duty for Inspector Javert. Any news of Jean Valjean? Have you caught him?
Caught him? We thought we caught him. Just look. Bright moonlight, 24 of us, a whole street full of police, a blind alley, and Javert himself. And would you believe it, Lieutenant? He got away.
I'll bet Javert's boiling. Where is he now?
Out in the fields with the first squad. Javert swears he'll find him if it takes every policeman in Paris.
He hates that man so much it frightens you.
There's something between those two that's worse than hate. Whatever it was, it happened years ago when Javert was an inspector in some town in the south and this Jean Valjean was the mayor.
Valjean, the mayor?
Oh, yes. Made his fortune in business, he did. And still has the money somewhere, hidden away. He called himself Monsieur Madeleine in those days. But you can't fool Javert. Javert found him out and sent him back to the galley ship.
The double chain. How did Valjean get out of that?
How did he get out of this tonight? And mark you, Lieutenant, this time he had a child with him.
Yes. Javert has spoken of that child.
Yes. The offspring of some criminal woman, Jean Valjean, protected from Javert when he was mayor. It is very sordid.
But where did they go? Where could they go? Look about you, Lieutenant. Where is there room for an old man and a little child? What's beyond those walls?
Oh, what does it matter? No living man could climb those walls. These things are not to be understood. The convict has vanished, and there's an end to it. And if I know Jean Valjean, he won't be caught.
Yes, my friend. But if I know Javert, you'll go on hunting him.
Trapped in a closed street, pursued and surrounded. But Jean Valjean had escaped. Javert had found him out in his hiding place and chased him that night across the city of Paris till he came to this blind alley. A squad of police, a lone man, and a little child. Where was this Jean Valjean? No living man could climb those walls. But there are things to be learned in 19 years' service in the galleys. And Jean Valjean had learned in those years the dark sciences of the impossible. Pulling Cosette up after him, he had climbed one of those walls. He found himself in a garden, a wild and solitary place, black in the shadow of an enormous and shuttered building. What was this house? Wrapped snugly in his greatcoat, Cosette, the little child, soon fell asleep. And Jean Valjean, watching over her, knew that night that so long as this child should be alive, he should need nothing except for her, and fear nothing save on her account. He heard a strange noise, a sound like a bell shaking on the neck of a beast. There was something in the garden, something limping in the darkness, and like a man. To the outcast, all things are hostile, and all things are suspicious. He distrusts the day because it helps to discover him, and the night because it helps to surprise him. Jean Valjean shuddered because the garden was empty. Now he shuddered because someone was there. There was no hiding in that garden.
What is it? Oh, you frightened me. Who are you?
100 francs if you'll hide me.
Oh, God help us. Monsieur Madeleine.
What?
Monsieur, how did you get here? How? Did you fall from the sky?
Who are you?
Don't you remember old Fauchelevent? You once saved my life.
Fauchelevent?
6 years ago, monsieur, you lifted my great wagon from the mud. I was caught there. I would have been crushed, Monsieur Madeleine.
Yes. Fauchelevent. The wagoner. And you remember only Monsieur Madeleine, the mayor of Montreux.
Yes. And what is the mayor doing here?
Fauchelevent, I'm in trouble. You must hide me.
Oh, not here, monsieur. No man is allowed here.
No one will know.
Oh, Monsieur Madeleine, you have arrived at a very good time. I should say very bad. There is one of the sisters dangerously sick. She is dying.
Oh, Father, I'm frightened.
Cosette, little one, go back to sleep. There's nothing to be afraid of.
Monsieur, why do you wear that bell on your knee?
They put it on me, my child, so they know when I'm coming.
Fauchelevent, what is this place?
Oh, don't you know, Monsieur Madeleine? You sent me here. It was your recommendation that got me the job as gardener, monsieur. It's a convent.
A convent?
Yes, monsieur, the convent of the Perpetual Adoration, and a young ladies' school. But how did you get here?
Old friend, let it go that I fell from the sky.
Well, I believe it, monsieur. You don't need to tell me. I believe it. God must have taken you into his own hand to have a close look at you and then put you down. Only he meant to put you in a monastery, and he made a mistake. Listen, the nun is dead.
Oh, Father.
Shush. Cosette. What is that bell?
It is the death knell. That bell will strike every minute for 24 hours until the body goes out of the church. You hear it? It's like I told you, a stroke every minute. It is the rule of the convent.
Fauchelevent, what do you do here?
I am the gardener, monsieur.
A gardener? Of course. Fauchelevent, I'm in danger.
Oh.
Will you save my life?
Oh, ask me anything on earth.
Give me a job.
A job, Monsieur Madeleine? You, the mayor of Montreux?
Forget Monsieur Madeleine. I must have a job. I must stay here. No one must see me. Don't you see? This convent would save us.
Oh, but the little girl, monsieur.
Cosette shall be entered into the school. Please, old friend, make me your assistant in the garden. Present me as your brother.
The Reverend Mother might consent. But there is one thing. You see, monsieur, the gates are locked. The mother prioress will want to know how you got into the garden, and, monsieur, I won't be able to tell her.
What do you mean?
You can't enter the convent from here, monsieur. They must admit you from the street.
From the street? No, there must be some other way.
Oh, no, there is no other way, and here's the difficulty.
The porter, not me, unlocks the gates. In order for you to come in, it is necessary that you should get out. For me, you have fallen from heaven because I know you. But for the nuns, you must come in at the door.
I see.
For the child, it would be easy. I have my door, which opens to the court. I knock, the porter opens. I have my basket on my back. The little girl is inside. I go out. It's all very simple, monsieur. Very simple, Monsieur Madeleine, except for you.
Well, can't you smuggle me out some way? Like Cosette? Undercover?
It's not possible, monsieur. There's the bells for me. It's the Reverend Mother. She wants to see me. I wonder why. Monsieur Madeleine, don't stir from this shed. It's worth your life. I'm coming. I'm coming. Wait a moment. Reverend Mother, you sent for me? Reverend Mother?
At 8:45 in the morning, and at all hours, praise and adoration to the most holy sacrament of the altar. Monsieur Fauchelevent, I have called you.
I am here, Reverend Mother.
I wish to speak to you.
And for my part, I have nothing to say to the most Reverend Mother, but something.
You have a communication you wish to make to me.
Reverend Mother, I am not young.
No, monsieur?
No, Reverend Mother. And I have also a brother who is not young.
Indeed, monsieur.
Not young. And not old. An excellent gardener, honest and respectable, and the father of a little girl who would be reared under God in this house and may someday be a nun.
Monsieur Fauchelevent, can you, between now and night, procure an iron bar?
For what work?
To be used as a lever.
Oh, yes, Reverend Mother, and may I say further that I have served here in the convent too long with this bell on my knee not to have an excellent brother.
Monsieur Fauchelevent, we have confidence in you. You know that a mother died here this morning.
Yes, Reverend Mother, amen.
It is Mother Crucifixion, one of the blessed.
Yes, Reverend Mother, and now she's dead.
At 9 o'clock in the morning, and at all hours, praise and adoration to the most holy sacrament of the altar.
Amen.
Mother Crucifixion will be buried in the coffin in which she slept for 20 years.
Yes, I will nail her up then, and we'll put aside the undertaker's coffin.
The 4 Mother choristers will help you.
What, to nail up the coffin? I don't need them.
No, to let it down.
Where?
Under the altar.
Oh, the vault under the altar?
We must obey the dead. To be buried in the vault under the altar of the chapel, not to go into profane ground, to remain in death where she prayed in life. That was the last request of Mother Crucifixion. She asked for it.
But it's forbidden.
Forbidden by men, enjoined by God.
If it should come to be known.
We have confidence in you.
But Reverend Mother is the agent of the Health Commission.
God subordinated to the Commissary of Police. Such is the case. Is it settled?
It is settled, but I limp. I need help.
To limp is not a crime, and it may be a blessing. Monsieur Fauchelevent, I am satisfied with you. Tomorrow, after the burial, bring your brother to me.
Yes, Reverend Mother.
And his daughter also. We will admit her to the school. At 9:15 in the morning, and at all hours, praise and adoration to the most holy sacrament of the altar.
So you see, Monsieur Madeleine, that's the only thing wrong with the whole idea. The government coffin.
The government coffin?
The coffin from the administration. You see, Monsieur Madeleine, when a nun dies, the municipality physicians come and say, there is a nun dead. The government sends us a coffin, and the next day a hearse and some bearers to take it to the cemetery. The bearers will come tomorrow, and there'll be nothing in the coffin.
Put something in it.
A dead body? I have none.
Put me in the coffin.
Oh, Monsieur Madeleine, put you in the coffin.
I've got to get out of here, and I mustn't be seen.
But, monsieur, it's impossible. Suppose you should sneeze.
Fauchelevent, I must decide now either to be taken here or to go out in that hearse. There's only one thing that worries me. what will be done at the cemetery?
Ooh, I can handle the Gravedigger. He's a drunkard and a very close friend of mine by the name of Mestienne. If he's not drunk tomorrow, I'll make him drunk and do his work for him. And when he goes away, I'll pull you out of the hole. That's simple.
Then it's settled. All goes well. I get out of my coffin, and you get me out of my grave.
Buried alive.
Jean Valjean had arranged his coffin so he could live in it and breathe. A very little. He was calm. He counted on that drunken gravedigger, old Fauchelevent's friend, the gravedigger Mestienne. The plans were perfect. They would take him in the coffin to the graveyard, thinking he was the nun. The priests would read the services and go away. Then Fauchelevent would take this Mestienne to a tavern, and Jean Valjean would be left in the grave. He would wait patiently. Then Fauchelevent would return, alone, and he would be released. He was confident of the result. The four boards of the coffin exhaled a kind of terrible peace. It was as if something of the repose of the dead had entered into the tranquility of Jean Valjean. Jean Valjean felt himself lifted by the pallbearers. He felt himself thrown into the hearse. He felt it start. He felt himself driven from the clattering pavement of the streets to the hard ground of the boulevards, out to the open country and the grave. The boards of his coffin were thin, and Jean Valjean, lying there, could hear clearly what was spoken above him.
Pull up! Pull up! Rein in, driver, let me on.
Who are you?
I'm the gravedigger.
The gravedigger? You?
The gravedigger, me, let me on.
The gravedigger is Father Mestienne.
The gravedigger was Mestienne. He is dead. I am the gravedigger.
I tell you, the gravedigger is Father Mestienne.
After Napoleon, Louis XVIII. After Mestienne, Gyribier. Peasant, my name is Gyribier.
Oh, so Mestienne is dead, is he? Oh, let's go have a drink.
I never drink.
Comrade, I am the gravedigger of the convent.
My colleague, I salute you.
Let's have a drink.
I have studied. I have graduated. I never drink.
Comrade Gravedigger, we must make each other's acquaintance.
It is made. You are a peasant. I am a Parisian.
Yes, I don't think you know, my comrade, how important it is that we know each other very well. Oh, very well indeed, comrade. Over a glass of something strong.
I have told you, peasant, I never drink.
Please, comrade Gravedigger.
I ought not to be a gravedigger. I was intended for literature. Indeed, peasant, I am still a public scribe.
Then you are not the gravedigger?
One does not prevent the other, peasant. I accumulate.
Good. Let's have a drink.
Let's have a drink. Let's have a drink. Ding, dong, liquor, liquor. Have you no other topic of conversation? I'm a superior man, peasant. By day, I am a letter writer. I am the scribe of our most prominent bakers and cooks. In the morning, I write love letters. In the evening, I dig graves. Such is life.
Just one little good strong drink.
Business first. Whoa! Here we are at the graveyard. Here is the good priest and his choir boy waiting for the performance of the last rites. And here is my beautiful, fresh grave. Come, peasants, lend a hand with this coffin.
Every word, clearly. Jean Valjean could hear clearly what was spoken above him.
Impere pulvere, e vigilabunt, alii in vitam aeternam, et alii in opprobrium, ut videant semper, le profundis, requiem aeternam donae Domine, et lux perpetua luceat ei, requiescat in pace. Amen.
Jean Valjean heard suddenly a sound above his head which seemed to him like a clap of thunder. It fell on the coffin lid over his face. It was earth. Earth from a spade. 4 inches from his face. They were burying him. It stopped up the air holes. He couldn't breathe.
I sent him away. I stole his gravedigger's card and sent him home after it. You're safe. I fooled that Gyribier, Monsieur Manley. Monsieur Manley? Monsieur Manley! Monsieur Manley! Why don't you answer me? What's wrong with you, Monsieur Manley? I'll get you out of that. Monsieur Manley! Monsieur Manley! Monsieur Manley! Are you alive? Monsieur Manley! He's dead! He's dead. He's suffocated. Monsieur Manley! Oh, what shall I do? What shall I do? This little girl, what shall I do with her? Oh, Monsieur Madeleine, the best man that God ever made, Monsieur Madeleine. Monsieur Madeleine, Your Honor. Monsieur Madeleine? He doesn't hear me. He's dead. Ah! Don't open your eyes! Whoa! I can't stand it! Don't open your eyes at me!
Fauchelevent! Fauchelevent, what's wrong with you?
Oh. Aren't you dead? I thought you were dead.
So did I.
Don't open your eyes at me if you're dead. I can't stand it.
Fauchelevent.
Out of the clouds and up from the dead. I can't stand it.
Dear old friend.
Just a minute. I'll be myself again. Did you faint, monsieur? Can you breathe again?
Dear old friend, we must go get Cosette and take her to the convent. Fauchelevent.
Just give me time. I'm old, but I'll get used to it. You can get used to anything, but oh, my God. Out of the sky and the grave in the same day. Down from the cloud and up from the dead. Oh, my God, I can't stand it. I can't stand it.
Javert, the inspector of police, watched the street where the convict, Jean Valjean, had disappeared. A hearse came out of the convent and passed Javert on its way to the cemetery. An old gardener came out of the convent and passed Javert carrying a covered basket. This gardener returned to the convent with another old man and a little child. He passed Javert in a carriage. For 3 months, Inspector Javert watched that street, and then he went away. In the convent, all was peace. The community was grateful for the services of its gardener. His niece was admitted to the school, and his brother was given a post as his assistant. So all went well for Jean Valjean. The years passed by. Cosette growing up in the school. Jean Valjean close to her in the convent garden and watching her as she grew.
Labor omnia vincit, ad astra per aspera.
And so she grew.
Non eget Marius, Iaculis nec arcu nec venenatis, gravida sagitis, usque peretra.
When Cosette was 14, Jean Valjean withdrew her from the convent school. He took a little house for her in the outskirts of the city, and they lived there together, very quietly. Perhaps the police had forgotten Jean Valjean. Perhaps Javert had stopped watching.
You have an interesting story, monsieur. Now, what is your name again? This is simply for the record.
Marius. Marius Pontmercy.
Age?
20.
Occupation?
I'm a student.
When did you meet this girl, Cosette? And why have you come here to the police?
I saw her first 3 years ago in the Luxembourg. She used to walk there with the old gentleman, her guardian. And I've come to you because she's disappeared.
Is the house empty where this couple lived?
Deserted.
You've searched for them and inquired after them diligently, and their whereabouts are unknown. What do you suspect?
Well, I don't know. The old gentleman was eccentric.
Explain yourself.
Well, he kept strangely to himself. He never left the house except at nightfall. It was almost as though, well, as though he were hiding from someone.
And the girl, Cosette?
She is quiet, monsieur, but very beautiful.
I see. When you last saw this Cosette, did she speak to you of anything untoward? Can you remember any circumstance which struck you as peculiar?
Yes, monsieur. The old gentleman seemed frightened.
Frightened of what?
Well, I can't explain it, monsieur. There was a man Cosette had seen, or thought she'd seen, standing on the edge of the garden. The old gentleman seemed to be frightened of that man.
Did you see this man?
I don't know. I saw a shadow. If it was a man, he was big like yourself, monsieur. And I don't know how he got there or how he moved so quietly. Cosette said that he wore a long gray coat and a flat hat and carried a stick. I remember her telling Monsieur Fauchelevent.
Is that what he calls himself?
What did you say, monsieur?
Nothing. How long afterward did they disappear?
Why, they must have left that night, monsieur, when I'd gone home. It's 5 weeks now since I've seen her.
Monsieur Marius, don't trouble yourself any further. Your loved one shall be returned to you. I will look for that girl, and I will look for that man. I will look very carefully for that man, and I will find him. If you hear anything else, please notify me at once here at police headquarters. My name is Javert. Good day, monsieur.
WOR and the Mutual Network have brought you Part 5 of Victor Hugo's absorbing masterpiece, Les Misérables, the episode which was called The Grave. Orson Welles, distinguished young author, actor, and director, played the role of Jean Valjean and was also heard reading the narrative passages. Assisting Mr. Welles were Martin Gabel as Javert, Ray Collins as Fauchelevent, William Johnstone as Marius, Peggy Allenby, Virginia Wells, Estelle Levy, Hiram Sherman, and Everett Sloane. Next Friday evening at 9:30 o'clock, Eastern Daylight Saving Time, we shall present Les Misérables in its 6th phase, the episode which is called The Barricade.
This is the coast-to-coast network of the Mutual Broadcasting System.
So long as these problems are not solved, so long as ignorance and poverty remain on earth, these words cannot be useless.
These are the words which preface the 6th of 7 broadcasts based on Victor Hugo's great novel, Les Misérables. WOR and the Mutual Network present Orson Welles, distinguished young author, actor, and director, in an adaptation of the book which he has created especially for radio. Each episode portrays some development in the progress of Jean Valjean, a role played by Orson Welles, who is also heard as he reads the narrative passages. Les Misérables.
The story of Jean Valjean and Inspector Javert. The episode which is called The Barricade.
Official order, delivered under seal, March 9th, 1821.
Inspector Javert will seize the body of Monsieur Madeleine, the mayor of Montreux, who has identified himself this day in court as the discharged convict Jean Valjean. Six times from the galleys, twice from the double chain, and twice from under my grasp. Last night he escaped from me. We had him, my men and I, and he gave us the slip. Then we had him again. We hunted him through the city. His flight was embarrassed by the child Cosette, whom he carried in his arms. We were on every side of him. The walls were too high to climb. He was surrounded. He was trapped in a closed and guarded street. And he disappeared. Jean Valjean has escaped. 1832. Sedition, mutiny, rebellion. These are dangerous times. Never before has the vandalism and the lawlessness of the mob had such reign. The very government is in peril, and there are whispers of another revolution in France. We of the police are wakeful and vigilant. Here in Paris, the riotings of the people, led by some party of young fanatics, has grown to downright insurrection. And I have today intelligence of a barricade to be erected in a certain section of the city. True or no, this rumor is worthy of attention, and I'm going there in disguise to mingle with the revolutionaries. Today, June 6th, is the anniversary of Jean Valjean's escape. It's the date of my failure as a police officer. 30 years now I've been in this service. All this time, I've devoted to police duty the strictest honesty and watchfulness and discipline. I've given it my mind, my heart, and my hope. I've made it my whole life. But so long as this man, Valjean, remains alive and free in the world, my purpose is thwarted. My honor is a joke. For this Jean Valjean has become a principle in the order of my code. He is all that must be checked. He is crime. Worse than that, he is license. It's 12 years since I've seen him. I shall see him again. I shall know him when I see him, and he shall not escape. Once Valjean forgave me, I shall not forgive him.
Cosette! Cosette, is something wrong? Cosette!
Yes?
May I come in?
Yes, Father.
My little one, you haven't stirred from your room this whole day. Now tell me something. What's on that pretty cheek?
I don't know.
Well, I do. It's a tear, and it has no business there. You've been weeping a great deal. Tell me, what for?
For him.
What's his name?
Marius. Marius Pontmercy.
Tell me about him.
We met at the Luxembourg. He's going to be killed. Father, why have they made that barricade?
For protection, my child. It's a kind of fort for the revolutionaries.
Marius is at the barricade.
How do you know?
He was a rebel. He'd pledged himself to the insurrection. He told me that.
When did you see him last?
I haven't seen him at all for 2 months. We used to meet in the garden of the old house, and I was afraid to tell you.
He may not be at the barricade.
I got this letter. It came this morning.
Let me see, little one. To Mademoiselle Cosette Fauchelevent, Monsieur Fauchelevent's Rue Lame, number 7. Our marriage was impossible. I have asked my grandfather. He has refused. I am without fortune, and you also. You know the promise that I gave you. I keep it. I die. I love you. When you read this, my soul will be near you. Marius.
They say that the soldiers from the government have brought cannon and aimed them at the barricade. That will end it. All day I've sat here, listening. When I hear the first cannon, I'll know surely that he's dead.
You man on the barricade!
Do you wish to speak to us?
Surrender quietly and spare us your prisoner, and we'll give you fair trial.
It is you who are on trial.
Give up your prisoner, the police inspector. What are your terms?
Our prisoner is not a hostage. He is a spy, a policeman who masqueraded as one of us. He will be executed before the last of us. We have no terms.
Down the discharge!
Take command here. I'll hold the north barricade. You, comrade.
Yes, Marius.
Go behind the tavern wall. Our prisoner, the police spy, is tied back there to a table. Shoot him.
Yes, Marius.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Marius.
Goodbye, Marius.
That's a brave man, comrade.
Yes, that's a brave man.
He has no fear of death. It's almost as though he were in love with her.
There's one whom Marius loves more than death.
He must be saved for her.
Indeed? Who are you?
I am her father.
Father of Cosette?
What are you doing here? How did you get into the barricade?
No matter. I've come to save your comrade. He must not know that I'm here.
Sound the discharge! Monsieur.
Yes?
Will you hold this position for me? I have orders from Marius. I must go execute the spy.
Who is the spy?
A police inspector who impersonated a revolutionary and was caught here on the barricade. I am to shoot him.
A police inspector?
Yes, monsieur. His name is Javert.
Let me shoot him.
What, monsieur?
Let me shoot him. You hold the post.
Very well, if you wish it.
I wish it. Where is he? Where is Javert?
Around the corner of the street, monsieur. Tied up behind the wall. Down the discharge!
Jean Valjean.
Javert.
I might have expected this. To find you here amongst vandals and insurrectionists. Amongst cutthroats and destroyers of public property. God, this is as it should be. Well, hurry up. I'm tied. You've got a gun. Justice is chained and the convict is free. Go on, Jean Valjean. You've got a gun. Why did you do that? Why did you do that? Jean Valjean, why did you fire that gun in the air?
Have you got a knife?
I knew it. Assassin.
Where is your knife?
In the side pocket of my coat. Assassin. Knifer. I knew you'd use a knife. You're cutting my ropes. Why are you doing this? Well, I'm unarmed. Take your revenge.
You may go.
What do you mean?
The back streets are open. You're known to the army. They'll recognize you and you'll be safe. There's none here but us.
You fool. Let me go and I'll get you. You know that. Alive or dead, I'll get you.
I don't expect to leave this place. But if I should, you could find me under the name of Fauchelevent in the Rue de l'Armée, number 7.
Fauchelevent. Rue de l'Armée. Why don't you kill me?
Number 7.
Number 7. I'll come for you.
I'll be waiting. It is the story of the barricades. That it fell at this moment. Everywhere was the terrible confusion of death and defeat. Jean Valjean found Marius unconscious, horribly wounded, covered with blood, but still breathing. He threw the boy on his shoulder and ran to the far end of the street. But for the silent dead of the insurrection, this place was deserted. Here was peace, but no safety. Here was silence and no exit. Here were no walls to climb, no passageways, no alleys. Here was a momentary island in the midst of the armies of France. 12 years before, Jean Valjean had been hunted down and trapped in a closed street. The child Cosette was in his arms. Now he carried her lover. He had looked up that night and seen the rope of a street lamp and found safety. Now he looked down and found there at his feet an iron door in the pavements. With Javert's own knife, he pried open the grating. In another instant, he lowered Marius and himself through this opening and was under the streets. Jean Valjean was in the sewers. Paris has another Paris under herself. A Paris of sewers which has its streets, its squares, its blind alleys, and its circulation, which is slime. The sewer is the conscience of the city. In this lurid place there is darkness, but there are no secrets. Underneath these vaults we breathe the enormous fetidness of social catastrophe. We see reddish reflections on the corners. There flows a terrible water in which bloody hands have been washed. It was in the sewer of Paris that Jean Valjean found himself. In a moment, he had passed from broad day to obscurity, from noon into midnight.
His first sensation was blindness. He reached out his hand and touched the wall and realized that the passage was narrow. He slipped in the water. A whip of fetidness informed him where he was. The frenzied storm of murder which was raging a few feet above him reached him as a stifled and indistinct rumbling. Then suddenly Jean Valjean had reached an angle of the sewer, and he saw before him at the extremity of the passage a light. It was a good and white light. It was day. He saw the outlet. He felt exhaustion no more. He felt Marius's weight no longer. He ran rather than walked. He reached the outlet. There he stopped. The arch was closed by a grating. A grating held in a stone frame by a stout lock. The grating did not stir. Its lock held fast. And suddenly Jean Valjean knew that a man was there, standing beside him, waist deep in the water. A man standing in the darkness.
I've been waiting for you.
It was Javert.
You got here sooner than I expected.
Inspector Javert?
Yes, Jean Valjean.
Grant me one favor.
This boy is dying. Before you take me to prison, help me to carry him to his home.
There's a carriage waiting on the beach.
You are silent, Javert. I should think you would be happy. I must thank you for helping me to take that wounded boy to his family. They will be grateful to you. Javert.
Yes?
I'm going to ask you something more. Something I know you won't permit. Cosette. I've been with her all these years. She's very dear to me. May I say goodbye to her?
Driver. The Rue de l'Armée. Number 7. Well, here's your home. Go up and see her. What are you waiting for?
I'm waiting for you.
I'll be here, below in the street.
Then you trust me?
I'll wait in the street.
Jean Valjean ran up the stairway to Cosette's little room. He stopped at the landing and looked back through the window. He was bewildered by what he did not see. There was nobody in the street. Javert was gone. What was the story of Javert? Javert made his way with slow steps from the Rue de l'Armée. He plunged into the silent streets. Still, he followed one direction. He took the shortest route toward the Seine. There had been a new thing, a revolution, a catastrophe in the depths of his being. One thing had astonished him, that Jean Valjean had spared him. And one thing had petrified him, that he, Javert, had spared Jean Valjean. Where was he? He sought himself and found himself no longer. Destiny has certain extremities precipitous upon the impossible, and beyond which life is no more than an abyss. Javert was at one of these extremities. Jean Valjean confounded him. All the axioms which had been the support of his whole life crumbled away before this man. A beneficent malefactor, a compassionate convict, kind, helpful, clement, returning good for evil, returning pardon for hatred, loving pity rather than vengeance, preferring to destroy himself rather than to destroy his enemy, saving him who had stricken him, kneeling upon the height of virtue, nearer the angels than men. Javert was compelled to acknowledge that this monster existed. An entire new world appeared to his soul. He perceived in the darkness the fearful rising of an unknown moral sun. Truths which he had no wish for besieged him. He saw what he had revolted at seeing. He felt that he was emptied, useless, broken off from his past life, destitute. Authority was dead in him. He had no further reason for existence. There was only two ways to get out of it. One, to go resolutely to Jean Valjean and return the man of the galleys to the dungeon. The other, Javert made his way with a firm step toward the post indicated by a lamp at one of the corners of the Place du Châtelet. On reaching it, he entered. There was a policeman there. Javert gave his name, showed his card to the sergeant, and sat down at the table of the post on which a candle was burning. There was a pen on the table, a leaden inkstand, and some paper in readiness for chance reports and the orders of the night patrol. Javert took the pen and a sheet of paper and began to write. This is what he wrote.
From the notebook of Inspector Javert, some observations for the benefit of the service. First, I beg Monsieur le Préfet to glance at this. Second, the prisoners, on their return from examination, take off their shoes and remain barefooted upon the pavement while they are searched. Many cough on returning to the prison. This involves hospital expenses. Third, it is difficult to explain why the special regulation of the prison forbids a prisoner to have a chair, even on paying for it. Fourth, the prisoners called barkers, who call the other prisoners to the parlor, make the prisoner pay them 2 sous for calling his name distinctly. This is a theft. Fifth, for a dropped thread, they retain 10 sous from the prisoner in the weaving shop. This is an abuse on the part of the contractor, since the cloth is just as good. Sixth, it is certain that gendarmes are every day heard relating the examinations of those brought before the magistrates. For a gendarme who should hold such things sacred to repeat what he has heard in the examining chamber is a serious disorder. Javert, Inspector of the First Class. June 7th, 1832, about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Javert dried the fresh ink on this paper, folded it very carefully, like a letter, sealed it, wrote on the back a note for the administration, left it on the table, and went slowly out of the post. The glazed and grated door closed behind him. He crossed the Place du Châtelet and gained the quay. Here was darkness. Darkness complete. It was that sepulchral and terrible moment which follows midnight. Javert was standing exactly over the rapids of the Seine, perpendicularly over that formidable whirlpool which knots and unknots itself like an endless screw. Javert bent his head and looked. All was black. What was beneath was not water. It was chasm. The wall of the quay abrupt, confused.
mingled with vapor, suddenly lost to sight, seemed to him like an escarpment of the infinite. Javert, inspector of police, 30 years in the service of France, stood there on that promontory of the darkness and looked into the end of the night. He saw nothing, but he perceived the hostile chill of the water and the insipid odor of the moist stones. A fierce breath rose up from that abyss. The swollen river guessed at rather than perceived the tragical whispering of the flood, the dismal vastness of the arches of the bridge, the imaginable fall into that gloomy void. All that shadow was full of horror. Javert remained for some minutes motionless on that pinnacle in the middle of the midnight, gazing into that opening of darkness. Then suddenly, without a sound, no expression on that great, bearded, beastly face, he took off his hat and laid it on the edge of the quay. A moment afterwards, a tall black form appeared standing on the parapet, bent toward the Seine, then sprang up and fell straight into the darkness. It is the last that was ever seen of Inspector Javert.
WOR and the Mutual Network have brought you Part 6 of Victor Hugo's absorbing masterpiece, Les Misérables, the episode which was called The Barricade. Orson Welles, distinguished young author, actor, and director, played the role of Jean Valjean and was also heard reading the narrative passages. Assisting Mr. Welles were Martin Gabel as Javert, William Johnstone as Marius, Virginia Wells as Cosette, Ray Collins, Hiram Sherman, and others. Next Friday evening at 9:30 o'clock Eastern Daylight Saving Time, we shall present the 7th and final episode of Les Misérables.
This is the Coast to Coast Network of the Mutual Broadcasting System.
Thank you for listening to and showing your support for my podcast. If you would like to receive notifications of when new episodes are posted, please subscribe to my channel. Subscriptions are 100% free, and they really help me get an idea of how I'm doing.